Mark and Artie show. Currently talking to the author Mark Kriegel, author of The Good Son, Life of Ray Boom Boom Mancini. And joining us on the phone right now is Ray Mancini. Ray, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This is an honor.
Big thrill.
My pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We've been big fans a long time, Ray. The first question I have for you is, what was your initial reaction when you heard somebody like on the level of a Mark Kriegel, or if you knew who he was, wanted to do a book about your life? What did you think?
Well, yeah, Artie, of course I knew who he was. And Mark had interviewed me for the Daily News a few years before. And, I had known about Namath and Pistol. But through the years, even when I was fighting, people were offering me, about writing a book, should write a book. And I'm thinking, man, I'm only 27 years old. Who's going to give a crap? You know what I mean? Who's going to care? And then I said, plus I said, let me live a little bit. Let me live a life.
Yeah.
And maybe you have something to say. And then when I got older, people were approaching me. I'm thinking, who's going to care now? I mean, it's 30 years. Who's going to care? So basically, I really had no desire to do it. And then when Mark approached me, because it was him, then I said, hey, man, I'm very intrigued by this. And, I know I'm with the right writer. And I know, what he sold me on was that it wasn't going to be a boxing story. It was about fathers and sons. He says, I love this one. He says, look, I want to do it. I think I'm the guy to do it. He gave me the whole pitch, and I said, man, I buy that. I like that. Fathers and sons, I like that. He said, but look, man, I can't pay you nothing. He says, you got no say so what I write. He says, but if you trust me, I'll do the best job I can do. And so I said, yeah, man, you're the guy. So that's what really, I just think because of his pedigree is what sold me on it. And plus, his idea of what it would be. Not a typical boxing story, but the fathers and sons story.
I was just going to say that, Ray. I, again, like most fighters, casual fight fans, knew you, again, from, the tragedy in the ring with Kim and whatnot. Didn't know you were in, we just looked at a picture of your dad with a closed eye.
Yeah.
That picture, I guess, that you looked at, him all beat up and said, I want to be this guy. He looks beautiful.
That to me is the most beautiful picture of him. That was when I used to look at that picture, I said, that's everything I want to be. That's everything I want to be. He's beautiful in that picture to me.
Did he never try to talk you? He never tried to talk you out of going into the fight game.
Oh, of course he did. No, my father would try to talk me out of it in the worst way.
Okay.
Especially when I was an amateur. But when I sat down and said I want to turn pro, he said, Raymond, listen to me. It's a painful life. It's a lonely life. I thought it was depression. I had to fight. He said, you have so many other opportunities. Because at that time, I had athletic as well as academic scholarship to go to college. I had a professional baseball offer. I had other opportunities. And so, he said, look, it's a lonely life. You don't have to do this. You could do something else. I want you to do something else. But, hey, Dad, I want to win the title. I want to win it for you. What's he going to say then,
That's right.
Yeah, describe Ray. I'm Italian. I come from northern New Jersey, and I was a longshoreman for a couple of years. And,
I didn't realize it. Well, you do. Well, you just like the guys in Youngstown, the blue collar, steel mill guys. Artie, I was going to be headed for this to be a mill rat, and I said, man, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Well, I had the same reaction. I worked down at the port for 2 years, and then I said to the guys, I said, listen, I know it's a tough job to get. You can't find this job in the paper. You got to know somebody. But I gotta get out of here. I got to pursue a dream. Otherwise, I'll go nuts. At least I got to try it.
Right.
Coming out of Youngstown, describe how tough that is to leave that behind and come out of a place that's like the North Jersey of the Midwest, man. I mean,
well, of course, it is. Like it's a tight knit community. It's a big small town,
Right.
I mean, Youngstown. Everyone basically, it's the old saying that everyone knows everyone, but basically, yeah, it's God, family, church. Everything's dinners on Sunday with the families,
right?
And it's a wonderful town. It's the best place to grow up, man. It was a Pollyanna life growing up, but and everyone in my neighborhood was a 9-to-5 guy. Everyone in my neighborhood worked in the mills. My brother worked in the mills. My father worked in a sweat factory, and man, that was but that was good. It was a good living. You could provide for your family. You could send kids to school. Everyone got a house. You had a nice car. It was a good living. But, man, I used to see my father walk up to we lived 2 houses from the corner, and he used to walk to the corner and catch his ride. And I'd watch, he'd get me up in the morning to do road work before I went to school. And I watch him walk, and I go, man, blizzard, snow, pouring rain. I said, I gotta help me make it as a fighter. I can't do that, man. I can't do that. And just as you said, I wanted something different.
Right.
Like I said, the guys in my neighborhood were the best guys I know. I just knew I couldn't do that. And so, I just, Youngstown, I'm sure Artie, is not a lot much like North Jersey. They didn't put a whole lot into breeding the arts. To be an actor, to be
That's a good way to put it.
To be a musician. You get a job, get married, raise a family. That was it.
No, yeah,
And,
I told the guy that I worked with at the port that got me the job. I said, I want to leave. I want to be in show business. He said to me, he goes, "What do you mean show? Like James Caan or something?"
Yeah.
And I said, if I'm lucky.
Guy in my town said Nathan Lane.
That was it. That was my, when I left Youngstown to go to New York, my father told me, well, if you stay here, you're going to starve. He said, Raymond, I starved when I stayed. He said, you got to go. You got to go. And there was only two places, either New York or L.A. at that time.
Right.
Now, New York, L.A. or Vegas, but Vegas is the main hubbub of all the gyms. But when I left, man, it was the hardest thing in the world, man, because you're leaving everything behind. But when I left, I said, I ain't coming back unless I'm successful. And I wanted to see my family, but I said, I ain't going home unless I make it, and I'll be the best bust-out waiter if I have to be that, but I ain't going home. Fear of failure is a hell of a motivator, that's for sure.
I relate to that,
We're
man,
talking to
absolutely.
Ray Boom Boom Mancini, WBA lightweight champion from 82 to 84. Mark, you want to?
Yeah, we got your boy,
We got your boy
Mark
Kriegel right here.
Mark, anything you want
Mark's there? Yeah, there he goes.
I'm sitting right here.
Ask him the same question.
It's the first.
You should ask him why he wanted to write about me.
Well, can you
I'll
answer
tell
that,
you,
Mark? Yeah.
absolutely. And I don't know how much Ray knows about this, but he's right. I told him I didn't want to write a boxing book. I wanted to write about fathers and sons, but I also told him, I said all the stuff he said was true. You won't do this. You won't get that. You have no control. And we almost came to blows over the word need in the manuscript, and probably it's a good thing for me because Ray would have kicked my ass.
Yeah, in fact, I'm glad you know that.
But
Big admission there.
but I see Ray's father as a wounded hero, a guy who was a contender, #1 contender, went off to war, got hurt bad with a mortar shell, mortar fragments in France. Came back, tried to make it as a fighter because he was such a tough guy. Fought at middleweight, even a guy's about 5'1", fighting at lightweight, and couldn't make it. And Ray decides, I'm going to, in essence, rescue my father's reputation. I'm going to preserve the family's honor. I'm going to win the title for you, Dad, which is a preposterously romantic notion. And Ray's so crazy and so valiant that he actually won the damn title.
Hold it
Yeah.
up.
It's an extraordinary.
It's a great American story.
Are we going to?
Yeah, we have to.
But
Ray? Can you hang on? We're gonna take a quick
Oh,
break.
yeah. I'll be here. Yeah.
This is great. And
Thanks,
we'll come
Ray.
back with more with Ray Boom Boom Mancini and Mark Kriegel. The book is The Good Son, which is out now. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Nick and Artie Show. Currently talking with retired former WBA lightweight champion Ray Boom Boom Mancini and Mark Kriegel, who wrote a book called The Good Son, based on Ray's life, which is phenomenal.
And Mark was explaining to Ray, in a very humble way, by the way, asked why would Mark want to do this book. So Mark was trying to explain to Ray and us why he did this.
And so I saw Ray's father as a wounded hero.
Right.
And he was, in a sense, I don't think Ray would agree with this, rescuing his father, redeeming the father by winning the title, which is actually a preposterous ambition
His father
to have.
got wounded in World War II. So he is a hero.
Yeah.
First of all.
he is.
No. What I'm talking about is it's
Right.
a preposterously ambitious notion to say, I'm going to win the title for my dad.
Right.
No, but I don't think that Ray looks at his father as a hero, but not a wounded hero.
Okay.
And I might be biased. My father, same year that Ray's father got hurt, my father had polio. And to me, look, I'm a Jew from Manhattan. My father's a professor of English. Ray's an Italian kid from Youngstown.
Yeah.
Right? His father worked for a living. All that aside, I felt an enormous kinship with Ray. Ray might think I'm full of it, but because I thought that we were both the sons of wounded fathers trying the best we could to win their approval.
And promising your father that and doing it, it's just a great American story. I mean, who can say that? That's an amazing.
Is that right, Ray? You didn't see your father as a wounded hero. You saw him as a hero.
No, of course. And I understand what Mark's saying, but no, for me, he was my hero. And I mean, it was just I thought he was unjustly denied the title shot. Everyone told me, since day one, I've grown up, all I heard about how he could have been, would have been, should have been world champion. And so I said, when I was a little boy, they'd say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "I want to be a fighter and world champion for my father." And like Mark said, I guess that's a very romanticized idea, but that's all I ever knew. And so. But no, to me he was bigger than life. He was bigger than life. He just was everything I wanted to be, and that's why when I heard the stories, I said I'm going to. People that say if you'd have won the title, I wouldn't have been a fighter. There's no reason to. Right. I've been so proud and happy to say my father's world champion, but obviously that was the one thing, and so that's all I ever wanted to be was to win that title for him. So. I've been very fortunate, very blessed to be able to fulfill that dream and to live it out,
There's another thing, Ray. You were kind of kind before. I also told you before I started interviewing you. I said, I promise you, it will hurt. Everywhere you don't want to go, I will go there and return again and again and again. Yeah. Beginning with the Kim fight, everything uncomfortable in your life, I'm going to go there. You stood in without kicking my ass. I appreciate it.
Well, no,
it was nice of you, right?
Well, Mark, like I said, Mark, you got to. I mean, you know what type of writer Mark is. So when you look, like I said, if you're arrogant enough to think that your life is worth the book, if you're arrogant enough to allow it to be written, thinking people are going to give a crap, then you got to be arrogant enough to accept the good, the bad, and the ugly.
No, you got to be humble enough, right?
Yeah, let it all out. Absolutely. Yeah. I've gone through that. My life became an autobiography, and they said, look, you got to let out all the ugliness, and boy, did I do that.
Yeah, no, because believe me, But one thing I asked Mark, I said, I know we have to say things, we have to go places that's uncomfortable, but the only thing I request is not embarrassing to my kids.
Right.
That I can't go for. I don't want to be. My father used to tell me when I was a little boy, Raymond, don't ever have your children be responsible for the sins of their father. And he says that to me. He said, I hope I didn't do anything to embarrass you in my life. He said, and don't you do anything to embarrass your children. Right. So I'm hoping that I've stuck by what he told me and what he asked me to do. I don't think I have, but I wanted to clarify that for Mark that was the only thing that I just didn't want. There's a lot of stupid things, but nothing that I honestly could say to my kids.
What are you talking about? What stupid things did you do?
No, I don't know, but I just didn't want anything that was embarrassing.
No, Ray, I'll tell you, I understand what you're saying, and I don't think that comes through. I mean, but look, we do have to bring up probably the worst moment of your life. One of them, you killed a guy in the ring. And that's a harsh way to put it, but that's what happened. It's every boxer's nightmare. Just because I haven't really heard you speak about this. When you found out Kim died, the moment you found that out, describe what you went through emotionally.
Well, Artie, first of all, you have to understand, I prepared myself for it because I was inevitable and I knew it. It's, but I guess the biggest shock is when I was, after the fight, I was in my hotel room. And we were preparing for the party. We always had good parties after my victories.
Why not, right?
We threw a good party. So we were preparing for that. My sister had the ice pack on one hand, on one eye. My mother had it on the other hand, on the other eye. And and they were crying. My mom's crying over me, and I'm telling her, Mom, relax, don't cry. We won. Don't cry no more. And then Murphy Griffith come in, my trainer. And he said, man, Ray, man, we got bad news. I got bad news. And then shortly after, Father Tim O'Neill, who's my priest and very close friend from Youngstown, came in, and followed by Dave Wolf, and to proceed to tell me that didn't look like Kim was going to make it, that he had lapsed into a coma, and that he just didn't look good, and it was probably inevitable that he was going to pass. So from that moment on, I guess I prepared myself. So when it happened, I guess I was at peace for him. I guess, if that makes sense. I mean, he was on a ventilator. He wasn't going to come out of it, And so for his family, his mother was in Vegas, and she was grief-stricken. So I guess it was a relief for them. But I prepared myself. And I didn't know, to be honest with you, I didn't know how I was going to act. I didn't know how I was going to react. I didn't know how I was going to, what was going to happen after that. I don't think you can ever tell. You don't ever, something you can't prepare for. But it was something, man, because the people, people are you find out about human nature. And people are generally just, they want to bring up pain. They want to bring up pain to people. They want to see people miserable, man. I think
right.
The goodness of people that I believe in just wasn't shown, man. People were crude by things they were saying. And but to answer your question, I guess I prepared myself as best as possible. So I knew it was inevitable. So I guess you prepare yourself as best you can from that point.
Right. I got to cut you off at hard break. Can you stick around for the one more segment?
Yeah.
We're being kind of selfish here.
Yeah, sorry,
we'll
man.
be back with Ray
Thanks,
Mancini.
Ray.
Welcome back. I know we just discussed. Welcome back to hour number 3, Nick and Artie Show. Currently talking to retired former WBA lightweight champion, the great Boom Boom Mancini, and Mark Kriegel, who has a book out based on Ray's life called The Good Son.
Right.
And we appreciate you hanging on, Ray. I know we're being a little selfish here, and it was a tough time to break, but
yeah, thanks a lot.
We'll only keep you a few more minutes.
That's okay, no problem.
The night of the Kim fight, Frank Sinatra was in town. And describe how Sinatra reacted to that whole thing.
Well, I met Mr. Sinatra the night, 2 days before the fight. I believe it was that fight was Saturday. I believe it was either Friday. Thursday night or Friday afternoon to do a publicity shot. They had me taking a picture of me putting a glove on him.
Right.
And so it was very nice. But he invited me to a show, and so he invited me after the fight to come to the show for Saturday night. So we were in the room. We had the party. Since the fight was an afternoon fight, we had a party early evening. He invited me to the late show, and to be honest with you, I didn't know to go or not to go because of the situation. But I felt, well, nothing I could do. He invited me. I don't know what to do. So everyone encouraged me to go. He said, no, things will work out. Just go ahead. You have a good time. Well, hard to say have a good time, but But I went there, and he was wonderful. He was terrific. But sometime during the show, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to a friend of mine." He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, today I saw the greatest fight I've ever seen." He said, "I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, Mr. Ray Mancini," and introduced me to the crowd. And I was, very honored, very flattered by that. And I didn't get to speak to him directly after the show, but it got word to me that he was, concerned for my well-being, wanted to make sure that I was feeling okay, and just to try to, just to relax and try to handle it as best as possible. So he said through intermediaries that his best wishes and things like that, which I appreciated very much.
But Ray, one of the most poignant and heart-rending moments of that story is, he'd also sent his right-hand guy, Jilly Rizzo, to your camp to make sure that everything was okay, which is a pretty big honor for a 21-year-old kid from Youngstown. That Sinatra sending his guy to make sure that Ray Mancini is okay, and obviously he showed great affection when you met. But the night when you tell it to me, the night he calls you out and says, "I've seen the greatest fight I've ever seen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my friend Ray Boom Boom Mancini," and you get up in the crowd, you feel like you're giving a false smile because the news, and it's worse than the people know. It's certainly worse than Sinatra knows.
Right.
And to me,
at that time, yes.
To me, what that symbolizes is this bind that you're caught in between what you know in an intimate way and what the world wants you to be, and it's about to turn in your life. You can't see that as a kid then, but the pain and the contradictory feeling you feel in having to stand up and say yes, everything is fine, when everything in fact is not fine, and you know it.
Right.
To me, symbolizes a lot of what you would have to deal with for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, that was it. You said before the fight, he sent Jilly Rizzo to come to my training camp because it was in Palm Springs, to where he has a home, and to make sure that I was okay, just say, look, the old man wanted to say he apologized, he can't come. Here's Mr. Sinatra sending somebody to apologize to me for he can't be there. But I was very flattered, very honored by that. But he said, you want to make sure if you have anything you need, you let him know. And then certainly when I met him, and he came to the fight. But consequently, after the fight, he was sending his best wishes. But it was difficult to stand up and wave and show a smile when you know what. But the funny thing is, I didn't know. You don't know the extent of what is going to happen. You don't know the extent of the ramifications of what that's going to do. After that happened, I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe all the people coming out of woodwork, from the National Catholic Ecumenical Society
right.
to people from corporate America to the American Medical Association, from every walk of life coming out, trying to abolish boxing. And I felt like I was a poster child for everything that was wrong about boxing.
But the contradiction is that Ray was the epitome of everything that was supposed to be right about boxing. He was the kid who came in, the clean kid who won the title for his old man. Everything was right. It was like demographically perfect. CBS jumped on it. Oh, my God, we got a hero for Saturday afternoon. And now...
Then they jumped off the bandwagon.
Right. And now it was like, he had leprosy or something.
Yeah.
Now, and that was the contradiction. The same guy...
TV suits.
Right.
Absolutely,
But everybody ran off. The same guys that were running on ran off.
Well, Ray's in a horrible position at that point because he didn't do anything wrong. He just won a boxing match.
Everybody acquitted.
He's not trying to kill anybody.
But
he won a boxing match. But what happens with the corporate America and the TV suits, like Nick says, is they don't want to seem like
not the ones we work for.
It wasn't just
they don't want to seem like they're cashing in on a tragedy, and the endorsements go away. Like Ray described the aftermath of that. Like you were fantastic. You were a champion, and you were a big star. The aftermath of this is horrible for you in a way, right?
Well, yeah. I could never foresee the everything that came afterwards, all the negativity and all the. Like you said, look, I was a 21-year-old kid who had all these endorsement offers, all these opportunities before the fight. Afterwards, like you said, I was avoided like the plague, and they all went away. Now, I certainly understand that now. At the time, it hurt like crazy.
Right.
But then more so than that, like I said, the National American Medical Association, the Catholic, National Catholic organizations, Ecumenical Society of America, all coming out saying, how could this kid, Catholic Christian boy, say he's a good Christian boy when he's over there trying to knock people out and hurt them, and consequently he killed somebody. I mean, it was I didn't know what. And my mom would come over and she'd just sit there and cry to me, Raymond, I wish there was something I could say to you. And I'd say, Ma, there's not. You can't. I have to get through this on my own, and I will. You just let me give me my time.
And you have.
But I didn't know. But I got to tell you though, is for as much as that stuff, there was a lot of the good stuff too. I was getting letters from all over. I got letters from all walks of life, people from all walks of life. And and really one from Italy that really was one of the ones that touched me the most. And it just said that they were praying for me, and it was a grade school class saying they hoped that I would continue to fight because I was a good representation for them, and they were proud of me, and all that was being Italian and they were Italian. It was things like that. I mean, it was those type of letters that made it good. And then there was a young man who. He had a similar situation. He had an accident happen to him with his best friend, and he didn't know how to deal with it. So consequently, Father Tim O'Neill, my priest, put me in touch with him, and I was able to talk to him and identify with him and help him through his hard time. So, for every dark side, there is that little shining light that you could find some type of positivity out of it. But man, it took a long time to find that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It just shows how tough you are. I mean, another great aspect of this story is, great's a strong word. I don't know if that's the right word, but Kim's fiance at the time of the fight was 3 months pregnant.
Right.
And obviously the baby was born. The kid is a son, goes on to be a dentist in Seoul, Korea. Right. And you met him. He asked to meet you through Mark.
Right.
And Mark arranged it. Now describe what that was like.
Well, I got to tell you, when Mark approached me, I said yes. I said yes. I didn't have too much trepidation about that because I felt it was important for me to meet him, important for me to face-to-face. But then as it got closer, you start thinking, well, I hope. I mean, I'm assuming he's not gonna. I'm assuming that he's gonna come with the right mindset, the right attitude.
Right.
But again, what do you say to a young man like that? So they said, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "I don't know. I'll shake his hand, hug him. What do you say? And what can you say? Maybe some things are better left unsaid."
Right.
I don't know. I didn't know. And then as the time was coming, I'm sitting on the porch waiting for him, and I'm thinking, man, this is crazy because I have my own children, and the theme of fathers and sons that's been running through my life forever, and it seems to be the theme of this book. Now I'm going to meet the son of a man whose life I took, and what do you say to him? And like I said, I have my own children, and I just, man, as I got closer, I was starting to sweat a little bit. I really, till that car, the truck rolled up, and he got out, and, but he was such a fine young man. He's such a wonderful young man that it kind of took all those fears away from me. He was very gracious, very humble, and very endearing. So, I mean, he made me feel so much better.
Yeah, Ray, I got a question. You thought I pushed? Because I don't think I tried not to.
No, push?
Oh.
No, I know you said
push.
push.
I thought you said push. I was like, I didn't know what to make of it when I go to Korea.
No. I think I was happy that he wanted to meet me. I mean, I was glad that he you told me he was a fine young man. You told me he spoke good and that he actually wanted to meet me and to put to relieve me of any undoing stress or guilt. And so I was happy to meet him, But as I got closer, like I said, I felt a little trepidation of like, wow, how's it gonna, what do I say to him? But like I said, it worked out, and it was a wonderful experience. It really was, and him and his mother, they're wonderful people, and
despite having to deal with me,
it put a lot of things to rest for me.
Hey, Ray,
and I hope for them also.
Ray, we can't thank you enough for joining us here on the show. This has been a real privilege, man. I watched you when I was a young kid, and the stuff you've gone through.
Artie, I just want to tell you, we have a mutual friend.
Who?
We have a mutual friend, Sam Cass.
Oh, Sam. Sam's a great guy. I've worked with Sam.
Oh, he's my man. And I know he wrote, you did a show, a pilot for him years ago at Fox. And,
we did, yeah.
And he talks very highly of you. So I have to tell him, I told him I was going to speak to you, and he said to say hello. So I just want to send his best.
Well, I love Sam. Tell him hi for me. And let me tell you something, Ray. Throughout your entire life, you've done nothing, in my opinion, but hold yourself up with great honor and class.
Thank
and
you.
As an Italian, I appreciate that.
I appreciate it, Artie. I appreciate it, my brother.
And I hope to meet you. I hope to meet you.
We'll get to work together.
Yeah.
What about cooperate with me? Didn't that bring him dishonor?
Well, you're not Italian. But maybe one day through Kriegel, we could have a cup of coffee next time I'm in L.A.
Artie says, I'm here visiting my sister. Oh, I missed you. He calls me after we went home.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ray.
Take care, buddy. I'll see you in a couple days.
Mark, I'll talk to you, buddy.
Take care. That's the great Ray Boom Boom Mancini and our buddy Mark Kriegel. Again, the book, The Good Son.
Yeah, pick it up.
It's going to be quite a read. Nick and Artie back after this.